The objective of this caving trip was for Brendan to photograph the passages in the west leg of the Waterfall series, but as it was Dominic's first visit to the cave, we decided also to complete the round trip. The entrance leads to the Cyril Powell series, which contains this splendid calcite formation called the Font, and then progress is made via the toast rack to enter the streamway at the step. The streamway, one of the finest in Britain, flows through jet black limestone. There are 4 deep pots in the stream bed, over which scaffold poles have been fixed to prevent a complete dunking. The pole over the third pot has recently been replaced with a shiny new one. The main bulk of the stream flows out of an impassable sump, but a smaller stream is then followed to a waterfall which flows down from the Waterfall series above. The then dry passage ends at Boulder Chamber, which itself ends at the large boulder choke behind the caver. The way onto OFD2 is gained by entering the choke via a crawl along the right hand wall. Today, however, our objective was to visit the Waterfall series. From Boulder Chamber, a series of exposed traverses, initially on the left-hand wall facing away from the choke, and then over a rock bridge to follow the right-hand wall, lead up above the waterfall. A squeeze up through boulders then leads to this really well decorated keyhole passage and the dry way. An exposed climb at the end of the dry way leads up to West Leg, where we spent some time exploring the passages and posing for Brendan's photographs. Climbing down is always more difficult than climbing up, and the climb down from West Leg was no exception. Our next objective was to visit Crystal Pool Chamber. This is at the top of a deep rift. The climb up the rift is quite exposed in places, and Brendan elected to stay at the bottom. To the right of the Crystal Pool is a very tight and committing crawl, which leads to the annex. I had never visited this before, but as you can see, Dominic was very determined. The crawl slopes down to the annex, and we squeezed through without too much difficulty, but the way back up was a completely different proposition, and as you can hear required lots of heavy breathing. Back down the rift from Crystal Pool Chamber, we then headed via the wetway crawl back down to Boulder Chamber.
Not through the wetway then.
From here we made our way back downstream to the climb up to Lowe's Passage, where we temporarily abandoned the photographic equipment. Lowe's climb is quite awkward, and there is definitely a right way to tackle it. Here is Brendan on an earlier trip demonstrating exactly how it should be done.
And then from there you can just pull yourself across.
But in spite of Brendan's excellent tuition, Ed still managed to cock it up. Past Roundabout Chamber, this flat-out crawl leads to the Rawl series, large fossil passages and breakdown chambers. The Rawl series ends at Pie Chamber, where the escape route begins. The escape route, coloured yellow on this segment of the survey, is then followed to complete the round trip. From an earlier trip, here is Derek demonstrating how to tackle the hidden climb down into the escape route. It helps if cavers can tell their left from their right.
To your right. You try to work out that one. Right. Exactly, yes. Hold the hand.
Some flat-out squeezes and vertical rifts lead into Bolt Passage and this well-polished chimney climb down. As the end of Bolt Passage is reached, the sound of the main streamway can be heard. This is coming up through holes in the passage floor. Steel traverse wires have been placed here, as a slip could easily lead to a fall into the streamway 40 feet below.
make your meal of it.
A fixed steel ladder is descended onto Bolt Traverse, a narrow ledge in the roof of the main stream. At the end of the escape route, we made our way back upstream to retrieve the photographic equipment. Finally, we returned downstream, where some last-minute fun was had sliding down the water chutes.